We're all licking our orange wounds after the Orioles meltdown in Toronto late into the night on Tuesday. But the undefeated Maryland Terrapins are headed up to State College to take on the Nittany Lions on Saturday. And, of course, on Sunday, once every 4 years, we get a chance to kick him in the teeth a little bit down there with the hail to the Redskins and all that. I'm usually friendly with this guy, but every 4 years we get together, and this is going to be unfriendly. Larry Michael is the longtime voice of the Washington Redskins. Sometimes he's friend. This week it's foe. We need to win this game, Larry. We're not going to do any favors to any of the Redskins this week, man. How are you, my brother?
Well, I'm good, man. Don't need no favors. May the better team win, and this is such a long-standing rivalry. It's only the second time the Redskins have played the Ravens in Baltimore. It's only the sixth time they faced each other. And as your listeners know, I'm a Terp. I went to Maryland. I'm devastated by the Orioles. I'm an Oriole fan. Grew up an Oriole fan. Brooks Robinson, my all-time hero. I had a picture taken with him last year at Johnny Holliday's golf tournament. It's up on my wall right now. But you're right. This week there will be a lot of teeth getting kicked in. And we'll see what happens Sunday. I think I look at this as a pretty evenly matched game between two teams that still haven't found their identity this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're scuffling, but not so much. I mean, I know what scuffling looks like. Scuffling looks like last year. I mean, you've been with the Redskins a while. You've had some bad seasons. This doesn't feel like it's going to be a bad season here, but it feels like in a close game. I mean, the Ravens blew a 6-point lead at home, last weekend. As Steve Smith stood at the locker on Wednesday and said, nobody's feeling real good around here about being 3-1. Because we lost last week. Meanwhile, the Redskins got off to such a choppy start. Last couple of efforts have been representative, and much like in our case, when you beat the Cleveland Browns, people say, "Well, you beat the Cleveland Browns. Tell us about what you're going to do next week."
Well, you know what you got to do. You got to win every game that's on your schedule. It doesn't matter who it is. And these guys, as the players say, and it might sound a little trite, but the other team gets paid to play too, and that's the way it is in the league. It's week to week. I think that for the Redskins, the expectations were so high going into the season. Anything short of unbeaten streak would draw criticism. And I think the team does have some deficiencies right now, which are being addressed almost on a daily basis, and that's the way this league is right now. I see where the Ravens did the same thing at their running back position, and to think all that went into Forsett, and now he's not there anymore. Same thing goes here in terms of some injuries and some players that haven't been performing. So this team's going to continue to look to get better. The strength of the team is on the offensive side of the football clearly right now, and the strength of the Ravens team's on the defensive side of the football. So, yeah, but you got to take this week to week, and health is important. You got players on both sides banged up a little bit. But you know what? With this, you call it a rivalry. I don't even see it as a rivalry. You said it in the intro. It happens every 4 years. The Ravens' rivals are the Steelers and the Bengals, and the Redskins' rivals have been here for 50 years. You don't just establish a rivalry. There might be city rivalries involved, but in terms of the football teams, one of the Redskins was asked about the Battle of the Beltways, and he said, "What's that?" So the media is going to try to make it into a rivalry because that's what we do. But in terms of these two football teams, the Ravens are known as a physical, hard-nosed team. The Redskins finally made the playoffs last year behind a quarterback who is young, still seeing some growing pains with him, but he's very consistent. And the Redskins had a running game all of a sudden pop up at the end of the game against the Giants and during the game against the Browns. I don't care if it's the Browns. I mean, Browns ran the ball right down the Redskins' throat for a lot of that game. So the Redskins are going to have to straighten their defense against the run out, or Terrence West will have a big game. That's one of the big keys. And, winning the battle of turnovers again, you hear it every week, and the Redskins have done a great job forcing turnovers. What they haven't been able to do with the defense, they've made up to some degree to win these couple of games by forcing turnovers.
Larry, Cousins had his coming out party 4 years ago. It feels like 4 minutes ago. And then, we lost that game down in D.C. and the Haloti Nada RG3 thing. I mean, that place was electrified that day. It was an incredible environment for a football game down there. And I would say one of the longer rides home I've had from Raul John over the course of my 21 years.
You remember Raul John, huh?
Yeah, I always call it Raul John. I mean, I'm not a Redskin fan, Larry. I mean, I can't,
everybody's entitled to their own fandom. I go on this show with you because I've known you. You're a friend a long time, so that's why I go on the show.
Not because you like the Ravens.
Figuring that you're a Redskin fan here, and I'm doing a Redskin interview. I do that on TV every day.
Hey, man,
so it's good to get with you. I like the back and forth, but you look at these games, and John Harbaugh is 49-17 in Baltimore in his tenure with the Ravens. So it's a very difficult place to play. It's a very tough atmosphere for the Redskins to play in. Redskins have won 4 straight on the road. And I can't say that about their home record the last 4 games. So I think the Redskins built in a little confidence. There's an unknown factor here for the Redskins, I think, defensively. How can they improve defensively against the rush? Got to find a way to do it, and we're going to find out Sunday.
It's been quite a journey for Cousins, right? 4 years ago, he comes in and sort of while he pips that game, RG3 never really heard from again.
Well, that was the start of the day. That was the injury to the knee that never got well, which ended up culminated with that injury against Seattle in the playoff game. It was Haloti Ngata's large body that flipped RG3. RG3, you look at what he did this year, he still cannot get out of harm's way. And that's what, if I saw Haloti Ngata bearing down on me, even if I could run like RG3, I'd hit the turf and hide. He's an enormous human being. His neck is bigger than your torso. Okay, he's a huge man. So anyway, I digress.
I have stood next to Haloti. I am aware of that.
Forget.
And that was before he ate the fried chicken.
That's exactly right. That was before dinner.
Larry Michael is the longtime voice of the Washington Redskins. Redskins, of course, making the very short journey up here. You guys even come up here and spend a night in a hotel? I mean, how does this work?
Well, we've got a client trip coming up. I'm going to come up, obviously. I mean, there's some great restaurants in Baltimore. I'm very comfortable in Baltimore. We're going to come up. We've got a couple things we're doing Saturday night, me, Chris Cooley, and Doc Walker. And then we'll spend the night at a hotel and make a nice, easy drive. And hopefully the weather is good because, that hurricane, I don't know what they're saying, where it's going to end up. I really haven't paid any attention to the weather today. Is it a factor, you think, Sunday?
It's going to be a factor along the East Coast. I think it's going to be wet at the very least. I mean, it's a hell of a storm. I think once it breaks up, there's going to be a lot of water associated with it for the East Coast. That could certainly, weather could be a big factor, all along the seaboard and all of this stuff. I would ask you about this for your team with Josh Norman, and I know, everybody ran to Steve Smith's locker looking for something there out of the Carolina side. He's been the best football player on your team this year, right? I mean, and a very unlikely scenario that he would wind up there. I don't think even the Redskins believed they would have a shot at a player like that, right?
No, he fell out of the heavens into the Redskins locker room, and he has been outstanding. He's been better than expected. You got to love his attitude. He plays angry. He works himself into this psychological frenzy before a game. He really locks in mentally on an opponent, and I talked to him yesterday. I did an interview with him yesterday. Actually, it's going to be on TV tonight, and talked about how what he does on a football field reminds me a little bit of what Floyd Mayweather used to do in a boxing ring. He'll take a couple rounds. He might take a couple shots, but within 6 minutes, 9 minutes, he's completely figured you out. He's a step ahead of you the rest of the way, and that's kind of the way Josh plays. I mean, last week, Terrell Pryor, who's a monster of a wide receiver, he had a couple catches early and was using his body, but by the end, Josh won that matchup, got the game-winning pick, and the rest is history. And he's kind of contagious the way he plays. So right now, I think, you're 100% right. He's playing great. Incredible acquisition for a team at a position going into the year where they thought maybe, before they got him, it might be a weak position for us. All of a sudden, it's a strong position. They have depth there now, and he has just been a fantastic addition. Couldn't have asked for more out of him.
Well, and your secondary, little nicked up, and now bringing in Dante Whitner as well. Guy we know here from the Super Bowl, from the Browns, all that stuff. Still trying to get better on that side of the ball in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? A couple guys got hurt. D'Angelo Hall out for the year, and his transition to safety was looking pretty good, but he's out for the year with an ACL. And David Burton Jr., a guy they picked up as a free agent, maybe underachieved in the first 4 games, but he's out. He's on injured reserve. And to see and hear Dante Whitner in the locker room today, that's an angry man. I mean, he seems like a guy that was left at the altar. He's still bitter that Cleveland let him go right before free agency, and he had an opportunity to sign a long-term deal, to sign a single-year deal with the St. Louis Rams, turned it down, and missed the first 3-4 games of the year. And so he says he's in shape. You never know whether these guys are keeping themselves in shape. But in listening to him talk, Nestor, I mean, he's like an angry guy. So, I think he'll be a good addition, and the team definitely probably doesn't have enough firepower defensively for what they want to do. But what do you do? I mean, next man up type of situation, and they got some young guys that are going to have to step up. and that's nothing new in the NFL. But defensively, this team needs to improve if they're going to realize their goals by the end of the year, repeating as division champs, making the playoffs. The defense has to find a way to stop the run, and they can do it schematically. And you got some guys that maybe haven't played as well as they could, but you got to find. And this is what happened last year. A couple of guys got injured last year, and the GM found players on the street. A guy like Will Blackman, who's a starter now. A guy like Mason Foster, who's a starter now. Guys that started last year without a job, and so I guess the hope is that Dante Whitner is the same type of situation. He comes in here and he wins a job, and he's here for a few years. They sure need the help, and if he can still play, he's going to be a great addition.
Well, McLuhan brought some baggage clearly to the job, but clearly has an aptitude to identify football players. That's his gift. Well, what has he brought down there that's really changed some things about the way they identify football players there? Because, the bottom line is you need good football players, or Jay Gruden's not going to be there long either.
And you use the word that Scott McLuhan uses all the time is football players, and he's looking for guys that are smart, who have passion for the job, and have the necessary physical tools. What he's done, I think, is kind of change the entire mindset of the organization, meaning the draft is your lifeblood. You're going to build through the draft. You're not going to spend outrageously on free agents. You want to continue to turn over your players. You want to sign your players that you really like, that you think are the core players on your team. You want to sign them to long-term deals. Make sure they're around to see, the glory days ahead, and then just keep finding ways to fill the holes that you're going to have to fill. I mean, it's incredible the amount of injuries that are out there, and some people attribute it to luck. I don't attribute it to luck. I think it's a violent game, and injuries are a factor. Injuries are a fact of pro football. So if you don't have the ability to go get guys, you can only keep so many. And you got guys in your practice squad. Some of them are capable. The capable ones are going to get picked by other teams off your practice squad. So it's real difficult to keep on top dealing with injuries. He's done a great job with that. The whole culture of the team in terms of how the team is being built has revolved around his philosophy. He likes big football players. He wants them to be big, fast, and strong. I mean, who doesn't? But obviously, he's had some success in finding great talent, and I think he's done that here. I think that's a big reason. You have got a coach who's matured on the job, Jay Gruden. He's a pretty sharp guy, and he gets the most out of his players. And you got a general manager who is a workaholic who look under any rock to find a football player. So it's a good combination, but the proof is in wins and losses, and we all know that. And right now the Redskins are 2-2, so this becomes a pretty big game. They got the Eagles next week. Can't look past the Ravens, certainly, but you certainly rather be 3-2 coming back to take on the divisional foe than 2-3, kind of needing to win again to get to 500. So the start of the second quarter of the season for the team, and they've taken a look at a fresh start now that they got to 2-2. And the injury factors notwithstanding, you can see improvement in the quarterback. Running game is getting better. They got all kinds of talent at wide receiver. Offensive line has plenty of talent. Defensive line, well, the guy's going to have to step up. Linebackers play pretty well, and the secondary has been hit with injuries, but they have some depth there. So this is a good football team, I think. The Ravens are a pretty good football team, coming off a year where they were devastated by injuries. So I think both these two teams, like I said before, I don't think their identities have been, Ravens much more so because Flacco is who he is by now, but the identities of both these teams for this season, I think, have yet to been finalized, and you'll see something on Sunday to that effect.
He is the voice of the Washington Redskins. You can read his work at redskins.com as well. Larry Michael joining us here. Last thing for you guys got the Eagles next week. I look at our division, and it's certainly our conference, and I say, well, we have the toughest division in the conference, and we have three real teams, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Ravens, and say whatever you want about the Browns. And, in the NFC East, I looked at it, and I think a lot of folks did and said, well, you guys won last year, sort of the war of attrition, but if Dallas got Romo back, and then Romo goes down, and you're like, well, everybody in Philadelphia told me they thought the Eagles were going to stink. My boy Jimmy Schwartz got that defense rolling up there now. But that kid at quarterback and the other kid at quarterback in Dallas, boy, that division's in a little bit of transition. And if Prescott can play and Carson Wentz can play, y'all are in trouble in Washington and in New York, Yeah,
well, same thing could be said about them. The Giants, seem to be, they've lost two straight, one of the Redskins. The Cowboys, I still believe they're overachieving right now. They lost their left guard. They've got some problems on that fantastic offensive line. The left tackle, a Pro Bowler, has been banged up. And what are they going to do when Tony Romo comes back? That's going to be a very interesting decision for them. And as you know, you're smart enough, you've been around long enough that any type of rookie, any type of new system that comes into play, That tape is going to get super scrutinized. And they took an off week early in the season. I bet you they didn't want to take a bye week last week. That's the way the schedule was for Philly. And I don't know who they're playing this week. It might be Chicago. I can't remember who they're playing. But that's going to be an interesting game because once a player's tape gets out there, I don't know if anybody predicted this from Carson Wentz. I just don't think anybody predicted it. He's looked great. And if he continue to play well, that team's going to be much better than expected. And I do agree with you on Jim Schwartz. He's a great defensive coordinator. He's got them playing out of their mind. So who knows? You can't make these determinations this early in the season. I mean, I think this division was undersold last year, maybe being oversold a little bit right now. But if you look at the teams, it's the only division that doesn't have a team under 500 in the division. That's obviously a factor of who you played, but it's where it is right now. Just like you look at the rankings after 4 weeks, you got to give the Ravens due. They're rated number 1, but 4 weeks, that's not the proper sample for when you really. I do these shows as you do, and you read these numbers. But again, who have you played? What have been the situations? It all comes out by the end. And this is kind of like a meat grinder. The NFL season's always a meat grinder, and it's the last team standing at the end. And so one of these two teams will get a chunk taken out of it on Sunday, I can tell you that.
Eagles are in Detroit, by the way, this week, so they might pick up another win. By the way, we're going to try to help you guys out next week, no matter how, because we got the Giants next week. So
I know you do.
Try to help you guys out.
It'll be good for you guys to bounce back after a loss against the Giants, won't it?
You always got to get that kick in on the end. We're getting toward the end here.
I'm going to walk right through. You set me up.
Oh, man, you got to walk the streets in Baltimore on Saturday night, pal. Remember that. So
I understand that. I'll be wearing an Orioles shirt, buddy.
All right, listen, I had Chris Cooley on at one point. We got to get him on before the week's over. And, Doc Walker, he's my favorite ex-Redskin because his wife and we run into them out on the road at the Super Bowl and whatnot. I've had a couple of beverages and dinner one night. So I love me some Doc Walker. So as much as I don't love the Redskins, you got some good people around you there. You're keeping good company down there.
I appreciate that, man. Again, it's a football game, and, next week we'll be friends again. How's that?
Right, next week we'll be trying to beat the Giants for you.
That's right, and we'll appreciate it very much.
See you later, Larry. Larry Michael, the longtime voice of the Redskins and Redskins.com. You can check out his work out there. You can find us in the Buy a Toyota audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We come in crystal clear anywhere in the world. It's all brought to you by BuyAToyota.com. Morning newspaper reaches your email inbox digitally each and every morning at 7 a.m. That's powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. And there's one right around the corner from you. Go to Planet of Triumphs to learn a little bit more. PlanetofTriumphs.com. Great stories there for you. I got my own story of triumph around here with my wife. We're going to be having some fun. Her donor is coming to town on November the 12th. We're throwing a birthday party for him. And it is 25 years on Baltimore radio for me on December the 13th. So we'll have a celebration for that. Tuesday night, however, we have C.J. Mosley joining us at Buffalo Wild Wings in Owings Mills. We'll be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry. Speaking of miracles, we did swab someone who saved someone's life 2 weeks ago, so we're very, very pleased about that here locally in our May 19th Evening of Heroes. So C.J. Mosley, Tuesday night, Buffalo Wild Wings in Owings Mills. We'll be out there on Monday night as well for our Best Seat in the House promotion and our wing eating challenge that we do every Monday night at B-Dubs in Owings Mills. Last but never least, any breaking news, any fallout on the Orioles' horrendous loss on Tuesday night in Toronto that ended their season. Any roster moves to the Ravens, trades, big news, breaking news comes to you first on the WNST text service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis drives you home each and every Thursday here at WNST. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on Facebook Live and streaming live on our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.